5 signs you're wasting your power in arguments. Nietzsche's warning. Let me hit you with a question. When was the last time you walked away from an argument and thought, that was worth every second of my energy? Be honest. Most of us, if we're being real, feel drained, frustrated, and sometimes even defeated after arguing, whether it's with friends, family, co-workers, or strangers on the internet. And yet, we keep doing it. But here's the thing, Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most radical and misunderstood philosophers of all time, had something to say about this. He believed that most arguments are traps that drain your power, corrupt your focus, and pull you away from what really matters in life. Nietzsche wasn't anti-conflict. He didn't believe we should avoid all arguments or disagreements. Instead, he warned us to be strategic about where we invest our energy. He saw power, your mental, emotional, and spiritual energy, as something sacred, something you should guard with your life. Nietzsche's philosophy is a brutal wake-up call. Every time you waste your power on meaningless arguments, you are giving away a piece of your greatness. Let's start with the first sign you're wasting your power in arguments. You're fighting for approval, not for truth. Ask yourself when you argue, are you really trying to uncover something meaningful? Or are you just trying to win? Nietzsche believed that most people argue to satisfy their ego. They want to prove they're smarter, stronger, or more righteous than the person they're arguing with. But here's the paradox: the more you chase approval, the weaker you become. Nietzsche called this slave morality, the mindset of someone who allows their self-worth to be dictated by others. When you argue to impress or dominate, you're not striving for truth, you're enslaving yourself to the opinions of others. And in doing so, you surrender your power. Now, let's hit the second sign. You're arguing about things that don't matter. Nietzsche would ask, what is the ultimate point of this argument? Does it serve your higher purpose? Does it help you create or achieve something meaningful? Or are you just bickering over trivialities, politics, gossip, or someone's opinion on your favorite TV show? Nietzsche believed that greatness comes from focusing on what he called your will to power your drive to create, to grow, and to shape the world in your image. The more time you spend arguing over things that don't matter, the less time you have to pursue your true purpose. Here's a brutal truth: most arguments are distractions. They keep you busy, but they don't move you forward.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let me ask you something. How many hours of your life have you wasted arguing about things that didn't change your life one bit? Nietzsche would tell you, those hours are gone forever. You gave them away. This isn't just about time, it's about focus. Your mental energy is finite. Every argument you engage in pulls your focus away from your goals, your dreams, and the things that truly matter to you. Nietzsche's warning is clear: don't let yourself be distracted by the petty battles of the world. Stay focused on your higher purpose. And that brings us to the third sign: you're trying to change people who don't want to change. Have you ever tried to argue someone into seeing the world your way, only to realize they're completely closed off to your perspective? Nietzsche saw this as a colossal waste of energy. He believed that most people are deeply rooted in their beliefs, and no amount of arguing will change that. Instead of trying to drag people to your level of understanding, Nietzsche would tell you to focus on yourself. He believed in the concept of the Übermensch, or overman, a person who transcends the petty concerns of the crowd and focuses on becoming their highest self. When you waste your energy trying to change others, you're neglecting the one person you can change, yourself. So, let me ask you again, why are you arguing? Are you genuinely trying to seek the truth? Or are you chasing approval, fighting over trivialities, or trying to change people who don't want to change? Nietzsche's warning is simple but profound. Every time you engage in a meaningless argument, you're not just wasting your time, you're wasting your power. and your power is your most valuable asset. The silent battlefield, how arguments erode your inner strength. Let's dive deeper. Nietzsche didn't just caution us against wasting our power on meaningless arguments. He believed that the very act of arguing could corrode something far more essential, your inner strength. You see, every argument isn't just a clash of opinions, it's a battlefield for your mental and emotional energy. And here's the harsh truth: even when you think you've won an argument, the cost might have been greater than the reward. Nietzsche would ask us, was the battle worth losing a piece of yourself? This brings us to the fourth sign: you're wasting your power, you're allowing your emotions to enslave you in the argument. Let's be honest, how many arguments start from a place of raw emotion, like anger, frustration, or pride? You feel attacked, disrespected, or misunderstood, and before you know it, you're locked in a heated exchange. Nietzsche would call this a failure of self-mastery. He believed that the strong, those who are truly powerful, don't allow their emotions to dictate their actions. Reacting impulsively, lashing out, or letting someone else push your buttons. That's weakness disguised as strength. Here's the kicker: the more emotionally invested you become in an argument, the more power you surrender. When you let someone provoke you, they're not just controlling the argument, they're controlling you. Nietzsche saw this as a tragic loss of autonomy. He would challenge us to ask, why am I letting someone else dictate my state of mind? Why am I giving them the power to control my emotions? When you argue from a place of emotional reactivity, you're not fighting for truth or clarity, you're fighting to soothe your ego. And that's not real strength. Now, let's talk about the fifth and final sign: you're forgetting the bigger picture. Nietzsche was obsessed with the idea of becoming. He believed that life is not about winning or losing individual battles, it's about evolving, transforming, and becoming the greatest version of yourself. But here's the problem: when you get caught up in arguments, you lose sight of this bigger purpose. Every argument is a detour, pulling you away from the path of your own becoming. Nietzsche would remind us your life is too short and your potential too great to spend it fighting over things that don't elevate you. Let me ask you something: when was the last time an argument made you a better person? Did it help you grow? Did it make you wiser, stronger, or more compassionate? Or did it leave you feeling drained, bitter, and stuck in the same patterns? Nietzsche believed that arguments often trap us in a loop of mediocrity. Instead of rising above, we get dragged down into the pettiness of the moment. And in doing so, we lose sight of what really matters: our growth, our creativity, and our ability to shape the world in our image. So, what's the alternative? Nietzsche would say, stop fighting battles that don't matter and focus on building your own strength. This doesn't mean avoiding all conflict, it means choosing your battles wisely. Engage only in arguments that challenge you to think deeper, grow stronger, or uncover a greater truth. And even then, approach those arguments with discipline and self-control. Don't let your emotions take over. Don't argue just to win. Instead, argue to refine your understanding, to test your ideas, and to sharpen your mind. Here's a powerful way to shift your perspective. The next time you feel the urge to argue, ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this argument worth my energy? If it's about something trivial or outside your control, walk away. Second, am I arguing for truth or just to satisfy my ego? Be honest with yourself. If it's about pride, let it go. Third, will this argument help me grow? If the answer is no, then your time is better spent elsewhere. Nietzsche believed that greatness comes from focus, discipline, and the courage to rise above the noise. Every argument you avoid is an opportunity to redirect your energy towards something meaningful. Now, let's take this one step further. Nietzsche had a concept called the eternal recurrence. He asked us to imagine that we would live this life over and over again, an infinite number of times. Every choice, every action, every argument would be repeated endlessly. So, let me ask you, if you knew you'd have to relive this argument for eternity, would you still engage in it? Would it be worth your time, your energy, and your peace of mind? If the answer is no, then why waste your life on it now? Nietzsche's warning is clear: your power is precious. Don't waste it on petty conflicts, emotional outbursts, or meaningless battles. Instead, focus on the path of your own becoming. Use your energy to create, to grow, and to pursue the things that truly matter. Because at the end of the day, the greatest victory isn't winning an argument, it's mastering yourself. The art of strategic silence, winning without fighting. Here's a radical idea that Nietzsche would have loved sometimes. The most powerful thing you can do in an argument is say nothing at all. Let that sink in for a moment. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. In fact, silence, when used intentionally, can be the ultimate display of strength. Nietzsche understood that power doesn't always come from dominating others or proving your point. True power comes from self-control, from knowing when to engage and when to step back. And often, the act of stepping back speaks louder than any words you could say. So why is silence so powerful? First, it disarms your opponent. Arguments thrive on escalation. When someone attacks you verbally, they're expecting a response. They want you to fight back, because that's how conflict sustains itself. But when you respond with silence, you break the cycle. You refuse to play their game. Nietzsche would call this a form of active resistance. It's not about passivity, it's about refusing to waste your energy on battles that don't serve your higher purpose. By staying silent, you maintain your composure, your focus, and your dignity. And in doing so, you often frustrate and exhaust the person trying to provoke you. But let's take it deeper. Silence isn't just about disarming others, it's about protecting yourself. Nietzsche believed that every word you speak carries weight. Words are not just tools for communication, they're expressions of your inner world. And when you engage in arguments that don't matter, you cheapen your words. You give away fragments of your soul to people who don't deserve them. Nietzsche would challenge us to ask, are my words worthy of this moment? If the answer is no, then silence is the wiser choice. Here's a question to reflect on: how often do you speak just to fill the silence? Think about the last argument you had. Were all your words necessary? Did they serve a purpose, or were they spoken out of impulse, pride, or fear? Nietzsche believed that most people talk too much because they're uncomfortable with silence. But silence is where clarity lives. When you embrace silence, you give yourself the space to reflect, to think critically, and to decide whether the argument is even worth your time. And often you'll realize it's not. Now, let's talk about another layer of this: the power of silence in self-transformation. Nietzsche was obsessed with the idea of the Übermensch, the individual who rises above the petty concerns of the world and focuses on their own becoming. Silence is a tool for this transformation. When you stop wasting your energy on meaningless arguments, you free up mental and emotional space to work on yourself. You can channel that energy into creating something meaningful, pursuing your goals, or simply finding peace. Silence isn't just a defensive strategy, it's an act of rebellion against distraction. It's a declaration that your focus and your power are too precious to squander. But here's the paradox: silence isn't easy. It takes discipline. It takes strength to hold your tongue when someone is provoking you, to resist the temptation to set the record straight, or to avoid defending your pride. Nietzsche would argue that this discipline is what separates the strong from the weak. The weak are slaves to their impulses. They speak without thinking, they argue without purpose, and they give their power away at every opportunity. The strong, on the other hand, choose their battles carefully. They understand that silence is not a sign of submission, it's a sign of mastery. So, let me ask you, what would your life look like if you embraced the power of silence? How many arguments could you avoid? How much energy could you save? And most importantly, how could you redirect that energy towards something that truly matters? Nietzsche's philosophy is clear: silence is not the absence of action, it's the presence of purpose. The next time you find yourself pulled into an argument, take a breath, pause, and ask yourself, is this worth breaking my silence for? If not, let your silence speak for itself. The ultimate question: are you fighting battles that shape your destiny? Let's end this journey with a question so profound it shakes the core of how you live. Are the battles you're fighting today contributing to the person you're striving to become? Nietzsche believed that the essence of life is not found in fleeting victories or petty arguments, but in the relentless pursuit of self-overcoming. Every decision you make, every conversation you engage in, every argument you choose is either a step toward your higher self or a step away from it. So, let's ask the hard question: are you fighting for your growth, or are you wasting your power on battles that don't matter? Here's where Nietzsche gets brutally honest. He believed that most people are trapped in what he called herd mentality. They argue not because they seek truth, but because they're trying to assert themselves in the eyes of others. They want to be seen as right, smart, or strong. But Nietzsche would ask, why does their opinion of you matter? The herd lives for external validation, but the truly great, the ones who transcend mediocrity, care only for their own self-respect. They know that the battles worth fighting are the ones that challenge them to grow, not the ones that impress the crowd. Now, let's think about this practically. Imagine a future version of yourself, someone who has mastered their emotions, their focus, and their purpose. That version of you wouldn't waste time arguing over trivialities. They wouldn't care about proving their point in a meaningless debate. They would reserve their energy for what truly matters: pursuing their goals, building meaningful relationships, and creating a life that reflects their highest values. Nietzsche would call this living with your will to power, using your energy to shape your destiny rather than being dragged down by the noise of the world. But here's the twist: this isn't easy. Walking away from meaningless arguments requires strength. Choosing silence over pride requires wisdom. And focusing on your higher purpose requires discipline. Nietzsche understood this. He knew that the path to greatness is not for the faint of heart. It's for those willing to ask themselves every day, am I wasting my power on battles that don't matter? Or am I investing my energy in becoming who I'm meant to be? So, let me leave you with this: what will you choose? The distractions of the herd or the path of greatness? The answer lies in how you spend your power. Choose wisely.